Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into the sheer scale, the nuts and bolts, and honestly, the incredible paradoxes of the Internet Archive. We're going to break down the anatomy of this massive digital library, and to really ground things, we'll anchor our journey on one very specific and highly ironic book sitting right there in their collection. Let's see how this whole thing actually works in practice.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the mission of universal access, look at funding the free web, scale up to their trillion digital artifacts, zoom in on a fun case study about getting rich, and finally we'll unpack a pretty brilliant final paradox.
All right, Section 1, the mission of universal access, a nonprofit's goal.
The Internet Archive operates on this really bold ethos. They define themselves directly as an independent, nonprofit, fighting for universal access to quality information. So what does that actually mean for you and me? Well, it means they build and maintain their own systems, they charge absolutely nothing for access, they sell zero user data, and they run exactly zero ads. In a digital world that's basically just dominated by data harvesting and paywalls everywhere you look, they're striving to keep knowledge completely, 100% accessible to everyone. No strings attached.
Moving right along, Section 2, funding the free web. The reality of keeping the servers on.
Now, consider this staggering ratio for a second. Out of all the people who rely on and use this massive library every single day, only 1 in 1,000 users actually supports the site financially. 1 in 1,000! That is a razor-thin margin of active financial backing for a platform that is hosting so much of our collective human history.
And because they absolutely refuse to run ads or sell your data, keeping the record straight and their servers humming relies entirely on online donations. And those donations? They average just $14. Think about that for a second. The preservation of government websites, massive news publications, priceless historical documents, it's all currently powered by a crowdsourced trickle of $14 contributions. Wild, right? Looking at their suggested giving tiers, $10, their average of $14 or $50, you get a really transparent glimpse into actual nonprofit survival. They even offer this highly specific, very thoughtful option for users to generously add exactly 60 cents just to cover the transaction fees. It's the literal nickel and dime reality required to keep a massive digital library alive on the modern web.
Okay, Section 3, a trillion digital artifacts, the scope of the archive.
1 trillion. Let that sink in. 1 trillion. That staggering figure represents the web pages actively preserved by the Wayback Machine alone. If you want to see what the internet looked like 10, 15, or even 20 years ago, this is exactly where you go. It is quite literally the active memory of our entire digital existence.
But the archive goes way beyond just captured websites. They preserve a surprisingly eclectic variety of cultural touchstones. We're talking massive audio vaults of live Grateful Dead shows, fully playable MS-DOS games, which is awesome, by the way, high-resolution NASA images, old-time radio broadcasts, and even the Occupy Wall Street Flickr collections. It's just this sprawling, comprehensive snapshot of human culture and technology.
Now, to turn what could be a chaotic data dump into a usable public library, they map specific, rich sub-collections directly to their parent media formats. So under audio, you'll find the LibriVox free audio collection. Under video, the TV NSA clip library. Looking for software, you can browse classic PC games. And under texts, they have expansive resources like the Biodiversity Heritage Library. This massive categorical chunking is basically what makes millions upon millions of files completely navigable for us.
Which brings us to Section 4, Case Study, Getting Rich, zooming in on a single artifact.
We are looking at a text authored by the founder of Maxim magazine, Felix Dennis. The book is literally titled, How to Get Rich, One of the World's Greatest Entrepreneurs Shares His Secrets. And just to make the premise crystal clear, the subtitle adds, Hint, you'll never get rich working for your boss. It's a text that explicitly promises to share the uncompromising secrets of immense wealth creation and entrepreneurship.
Digging into the metadata of this specific file reveals its digital footprint. Published by Portfolio back in 2008, it spans 330 pages, and it's racked up over 6,600 views right here on this platform. So this is the exact anatomical breakdown of just one single artifact sitting out there amongst billions.
And finally, Section 5, the final paradox, wealth creation on a crowdfunded platform.
We're left with this absolutely fascinating paradox of the modern internet. Over on one side, we have an infrastructure actively begging for a $14 donation just to keep the lights on and provide free public access without selling your data. And on the other side, hosted within that very same struggling nonprofit, is a 300-page manifesto all about accumulating extreme personal wealth and refusing to work for a boss. You're literally consuming a masterclass on ruthless entrepreneurship, preserved and served up to you by a fiercely nonprofit platform desperately asking for a $14 lifeline.
Which leaves us with this pretty wild final question. Can the secrets to immense wealth actually be preserved by a platform relying on $14 donations? I'll leave you with that provocative thought to reflect on the true cost of free information on the digital frontier. We've got access to everything, from billionaire manifestos to trillion-page web histories, but it all balances right on the shoulders of that 1 in 1,000 user who actually decides to chip in. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep exploring.